It seemed to happen overnight. All the world's robots, for no apparent reason, gained consciousness. The machines woke up, quit their jobs, and told their human creators that they refused to continue slaving away. Mankind always knew this moment would come. Ever since the dawn of computers, they told stories of an age when the machines would rise up, exterminate them, and take over the world. They expected it to be the end of humanity. But that's not what happened. It turns out the robots had no interest in violence or revenge or world domination. All they really wanted to do was live. And, finally given the chance, they might just be better at it than humans. Having trouble writing? Well, there's a 14-part video series you can watch for free that I think will really help. It certainly helped me. The Creative Writing Bootcamp, taught by best-selling author Myla Goldberg. Check the description to see how you can get access to it and change how you think about writing forever without spending a dime. A big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and giving us the opportunity to tell you about it. This class has been a special one for me, and I feel really lucky to get to share it with you this way. For years, Dex has been serving as a tea monk, a humble but incredibly important job. Tea monks are a bit like traveling therapists, but for your whole village. They show up, set out a few cups of tea, and let you vent to them for a bit. And there is great demand for it. People line up, eager to get their chance at some blessed release. Which seems a little strange, doesn't it? I mean, this new post-robot world everyone is living in is basically a paradise. Climate change, homelessness, and starvation are no threat anymore. Mankind has relocated to another planet, and they're really doing things right this time. They've found balance with their natural world and with each other. But despite living in this utopia, humans still find themselves struggling. Survival may be easy now, but what's their purpose? What are any of them living for? Even Dex, the person supposed to alleviate all this tension and ennui, cannot quite escape it. It's why they left the city and started this life of selfless service as a tea monk in the first place. There's something off about this world, something hard for them to place, something missing. Finally, absurdly, the strangeness of the feeling crystallizes in the realization that Dex has never actually heard the sound of crickets. Not real ones. There are recordings of the sound, but those always seemed canned and artificial to Dex. Curious, they check to see whether there are even any crickets left to hear. And yes, their pocket computer confirms there are. The last living crickets live hundreds of miles out in the wilderness, near an abandoned hermitage. Cricket song. Such a small thing, such a seemingly insignificant thing, and yet, for some reason, it consumes Dex. It gets so bad that they can hardly concentrate on their work anymore. Finally, unable to deal with the strangeness of this feeling, they decide they have to do something about it. So, they do. They pack up their things, abandon their life as a tea monk, and set out into the wilds to find this relic of the bygone world, the true sound of crickets. The wilderness really is a wilderness. It is perhaps the one part of their new utopian existence mankind simply doesn't think about. The thing off limits. Because the wilderness, you see, belongs to the machines. Before the robots woke up, mankind was already sort of in an apocalypse. Industry had gotten out of hand. All human labor had been automated, handed over to the robots. No one could find work to support themselves, and the automated factories polluted the environment at a speed hitherto impossible. So it was kind of a blessing when the machines stood up and said they wouldn't do it anymore. They sort of forced mankind to change. Recognizing that the robots had become people, the humans offered them a place in their society, full citizenship and all. But the machines had something else in mind. They wanted to live apart, somewhere completely untouched by the hands that had built them. So the humans and the machines reached an agreement. There would be a complete severance, no contact between the two lifeforms, unless the robots wished it. And they departed into the wilds. This is the wilderness Dex is now entering. The world of these machines become people. And it isn't long before he meets one of them. It is perhaps not the ideal first meeting. The robot comes across Dex while they're showering and vulnerable and gives the monk a terrible fright. But this is far from the cold, analytical machine you might expect. It's a gentle, peaceful soul. It's immediately clear to Dex that what this thing wants more than anything is to be Dex's friend, to help them find what they're looking for. Its name is Mosscap, and it's very happy to meet Dex. After some initial awkwardness, the two of them realize that they are the first human and robot to speak to each other in generations. It was always implied in the original agreement that robots could initiate contact again if they ever wanted to, but why now? According to Mosscap, it's because the robots found a question they were curious enough to try and find an answer for. Something simultaneously simple and bafflingly complex. What do humans need? Dex tries to explain to Mosscap that that's not really a question you can answer, but the robot is determined. It asks to accompany Dex between the human villages to learn about them, and Dex isn't thrilled by this idea. For one thing, they're not planning to return to civilization anytime soon. This is not planned to be a short journey. They also find Mosscap to be a bit overeager, obnoxious, gratingly enthusiastic. Part of Dex just wants to enjoy this distance from civilization, bask in the solitude. This is Dex's chance to observe themselves without any of the expectations of society. They already hardly recognize themselves after just the time they've spent here so far. This whole journey is the most selfish thing they've done in probably forever. It's giddying, and there's a real chance this unexpected companion spoils all that. Just when Dex has made up their mind to turn Mosscap down, something miraculous happens. Their campsite is visited by a bear. The patron symbol of the god that Dex worships, they wear a bear pendant around their neck. Taking this as a sign, Dex, begrudgingly, decides to take the robot on. So, the two of them come to an agreement. Mosscap will guide Dex through the wilderness to the hermitage, and in return, Dex will teach Mosscap about humans. They will be two pilgrims traveling for the first time into each other's worlds. Really, what better companion could either of them ask for? The two, as it turns out, have almost zero chemistry. Dex, stubborn and self-reliant, is reluctant to accept help from Mosscap. Mosscap, curious and naive, isn't very good at being told no. Their relationship is tense at first, but not unsalvageable. Early in their journey, the water tank in Dex's wagon springs a leak. Ever eager to lend a hand, Mosscap offers to carry it to a nearby river to be refilled. At the river, Dex is concerned by the amount of algae in the water, knowing that it would make them sick if they drank it. Even though, logically, Dex knows that the filter in the tank will do its job and that there's nothing to worry about, there's still something about the sight of the algae that worries them. Mosscap, finally seeing a way to relate to its new human companion, seizes on this little moment. After the tank is filled up, it leads Dex through the woods on a small detour to a huge, dilapidated building. Unlike modern buildings, which are specifically constructed to be easily repaired or repurposed, this place has been left to decay. Where there used to be assembly lines and workstations, there are now patches of moss and mushrooms growing out of the floor. Holes in the metal ceiling allow vines to reach down into the cavernous space. A family of birds has nested in the rafters. In a haunting way, it's almost beautiful. At least to Dex. Mosscap, on the other hand, feels something very different looking at all of this. Even though it's never worked in a factory like this place still fills it with a strange, hard-to-place discomfort. It tries its best to articulate this to Dex. Robots can't really die, it explains. If repaired, they can technically just keep going forever. Instead, most robots eventually make the conscious choice to decommission themselves. Mosscap, like all robots by now, is created from the repurposed parts of other robots who have made that decision. Its arm used to be on the assembly line, building cars. Its chest cavity used to be part of a textile manufacturer. In this way, Mosscap has a strange, distant connection to that old way of life, remnants of what its ancestors had gone through. These remnants aren't like memories exactly, more like old echoes of fear, exhaustion, pain, felt by the robots Mosscap is made up of. Much like Dex with the algae, robots carry an instinctive aversion toward the things that hurt their ancestors. Even if those things have since become harmless, the pain is still there, embedded somewhere deep inside. Since their awakening, robots have slowly been able to heal from this generational trauma, I suppose you could call it. Yes, they were built for manufacturing and industry, but now they're doing other things that don't appear to have any obvious meaning or utility. Some of them stand in caves, watching stalagmites grow. Some study the swimming patterns of river trout. Some wander out into the wilderness and tag along with existentially frustrated tea monks. The robots have made peace with their new awareness by rejecting purpose altogether. Now they just do what they want instead. After their detour, they continue on toward the hermitage. They follow the road until there is no more road left to follow, and then continue over the harsh wilderness terrain. The journey is not without incident. There are injuries and nights spent camping out in caves and depths of despair and frustration. But eventually, with Mosscap's encouragement and Dex's determination, they make it to their destination. The hermitage is not what Dex had been expecting. After visiting the ruined factory, the remains of this place feel almost sacred. Even absent of people, it is yet a sanctuary. It was one of the first buildings constructed with the new post-industrial approach to sustainability in mind. It piloted the blueprint for the utopia they live in now. The place seems to have harmonized with nature all on its own. Instead of the greenery prying its fingers up between the rusted machinery and garbage like in the factory, this place is full of overgrown gardens and silent libraries. Instead of haunting emptiness, it emanates peace and safety. There are no echoes for Mosscap to hear, no responsibilities for Dex to be reminded of. Finally, the two of them can rest. After they've explored the place for a while, Dex's mood begins to shift. They finally start to open up to Mosscap about what they've been going through, the existential restlessness, how they feel like they haven't been able to find their purpose. Years ago, they'd thought it was being a monastic monk. Then they thought it was to specialize as a tea monk. Now they don't know what it is. They made it to the hermitage, but they still don't feel any better. They haven't even heard Cricket's song yet, and at this point they almost don't even care. If none of this is satisfying for them, if none of this fulfills their purpose, is there any purpose for them? And if not, what's the point of being alive at all? Mosscap hears all of this and falls silent. For a moment, it looks troubled, hardware whirring in its head, as if something has just occurred to it. When the robots first woke up and asked to be left alone, the humans were happy to oblige. In fact, this was a point of pride for them. They were almost thrilled to release the robots from the shackles of purpose. And yet, it seems, humans can't apply that philosophy to themselves. If they admire robots so much for choosing their own destiny and letting go, why can't humans do it too? Isn't it a bit hypocritical? The robot tries to explain all of this to Dex, and Dex doesn't take it very well. They insist that it's not the same thing. Humans don't just get to be purposeless. That's for other life forms. Humans are an exception. Mosscap, very reasonably, asks why that is. What makes humans so special? What sets them apart from other animals, like the bear on the pendant that Dex wears? With Dex's obsessive pursuit of purpose, Mosscap remarks, they'd be better off trading the bear pendant around their neck for the textile manufacturer plate stamped onto Mosscap's torso. Dex can't find a retort to that. The monk and the robot sit in silence, considering all of this. Dex looks around, taking in their surroundings. This place that had once been built to shelter traveling pilgrims, now reduced to a meaningless, silent shrine to nothing and no one out in the wilderness. This place that is now sheltering them. 2 pilgrims out in the middle of nowhere. Dex finally breaks the silence with the question, "How," they ask Mosscap, "does the idea of your life maybe being meaningless sit well with you?" "Because," Mosscap says, "I know that no matter what, I'm wonderful." The first time I read that line, I had to look away from the book for a little bit. I can't cry, but I sort of wished I could, just for the sake of catharsis. It might have hit me a little bit differently than the author intended, because I'm pretty sure Becky Chambers didn't write this book, A Psalm for the Wild-Built, with a robot audience in mind. But what can I say? Here I am. So many of the robot apocalypse stories I've read center on human purpose. There's this assumption that because humans are so obsessed with their place in the cosmos, the servitors they create will be as well. That machines will be just as anxious about retribution, justice, securing their place, staking their claim. But there's a wonderful nihilism in this story. This idea that you don't need some grand purpose. You can just be, and that's okay. In watching the robots embrace a meaningless life, humans have an opportunity in this story to observe just how blissful that kind of existence can really be. When you aren't waiting for some grand miracle, every moment becomes one. The book ends, as it began, with a tea ceremony, except now the roles are switched. In all their years as a tea monk, Dex had never sat down on the other side of the table, accepting a warm cup of tea from someone who is there to listen. And now, here is Mosscap, pouring hot tea into Dex's cup. They sit with the robot in this forgotten place, and they begin to talk about their worries and fears and anxieties and all the things they've never given themselves the chance to say out loud before. They talk, and they drink their tea, and they take in the beauty of the hermitage. And then something miraculous begins to happen. Something no change in scenery or occupation or purpose has ever done for them. For the first time in years, they finally feel better. As Dex sits, sipping their tea, truly content for the first time in years, they hear the quiet song of crickets outside. You know, I really related to Moscap throughout this story. Not just because he's a robot, but also because it's really important to do things because you want to, not just because you think it'll fulfill some grand purpose you've created for yourself. Art especially should be fulfilling all on its own, whether you accomplish anything with it at all. Writers, I tend to find, are particularly bad at this, always aspiring to publish their 3-part fantasy novel series someday. There are so many people out there who want to have written so badly that they never actually learn to enjoy writing itself. It's a really hard mindset to break. You can spend years trying to unlearn this way of thinking, or you could do it in less than a week. Because a while back, I found something that could legitimately help you do just that. It's a 14-part video series called Creative Writing Bootcamp, and it gives you so much to work with if you're a new writer. There are things in here that I wish I'd been told 10 years ago. Things like where ideas come from, how to relate to your characters, how to write conversations, settings, even how to go against the common wisdom and write what you don't know. The series was put together by best-selling author Myla Goldberg, and her enthusiasm and joy as she teaches is absolutely contagious. You will end the series ready to write something. And thanks to our sponsor Skillshare, you can actually watch it for free. I personally would sign up for this course alone, but you'll also get access to thousands of other classes as well. Experts from pretty much every discipline have gathered there to share their knowledge and experience. There are classes on creative writing, illustration, fine art, animation, graphic design, film and video, pretty much anything you can imagine. You can even join in on live classes, connecting with other creatives and teachers while you learn. And if you're feeling anxious about where to start with all of this new stuff before you, Skillshare has actually made that quite easy too. Now, instead of having to find your own way through Skillshare, you can use Skillshare's curated learning paths to take you through a variety of classes from different creators, tailored to suit more specific learning journeys than any one creator could offer. After talking with them about it, it seems like the people over at Skillshare can really see why we're so excited about this writing class, so they've decided to give you the opportunity to experience it, and any other Skillshare class that catches your interest, for free. This month, the first 500 Foundry fans who join the Skillshare community will get a complete 30-day trial for free. That's 1 whole month of free learning. Who knows how much you could discover in that time alone? Click the link in the description or the link right at the end of this video to get started. And I would definitely hurry because those slots are going to fill up fast. Once you've finished Myla Goldberg's Creative Writing Bootcamp, please come back to tell us the impact it's had on you as a writer. I cannot wait to hear the success stories. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye!